Welcome back to College 101. Today's video is one that I hope doesn't apply to you very often, but I know it happens to a lot of college students, so don't feel alone. You just failed a class. What do you do now? So the first thing to do is breathe. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Some of you, this may be the first class you've ever failed. For some of you, it might be the first class you've ever gotten anything besides an A in. Your first transition to college, your first semester at college can be extremely hard. There's a lot of things you're learning besides just your college major, and that can make it hard. So don't be too tough on yourself and focus on what you can control and what you can do moving forward. Now, every school is different, so a lot of this information you're going to have to go and retrieve for yourself to make sure that you know exactly what your school's policy is. But the first thing to do is see if this is going to have any effect on your classes for next semester. I know you just finished finals, you just got your grades, at least this one class didn't turn out very well. You don't want to think about college next semester yet. You're probably on Christmas break or summer break, but it's important because if you failed a class that is a prerequisite for a class next semester, you can do one of two things. You can email the professor and say, I took the class, but I failed. Can I still take your class because I've at least heard of the concepts? Or you need to drop that class because you're not going to be allowed to take it, or you should be a little afraid that you're not going to do very well in that if you didn't do well in the prerequisite. For things like Calc 1 and Calc 2, you probably need to have passed Calc 1 first. If it's something like I need to have taken Calculus 1 to do Physics 1, it's a little less related, and so possibly you can get away with it even though you failed that class. So you can reach out to the professor specifically and see exactly if they'll give you an exception or not. The next thing to do is look at your GPA for the semester. I've got a video here about how you calculate your GPA if you need that, and see what effect that might have on like your class standing, scholarships, and things like that, just so you're not blindsided. You don't want to look at this failed class, take a deep breath, move on, and then get a letter in 3 months that says your scholarship has been terminated, and you say, well, I didn't know. So figure out how that's going to affect your GPA and any other programs or qualifications, financial aid that are dependent on your GPA, because an F, especially your first semester, has a pretty big impact on your GPA. The next thing to do is figure out what your school's policy is for failed classes and what happens when you retake it. So let's say there are two kind of common ways in my mind. The first one is that if you retake it, they will replace the grade. So you have an F on your transcript now, it's really hurting your GPA, and if you retake it and get it a B, then they'll say it's like you never had an F in that class. That 0.0 turns into a 3.0 with that B, and your GPA rises dramatically, and everything's good again. In some cases, they might leave the F on your transcript, just not use it for calculations, or in other cases, they might take the F completely off. So if you want to apply to medical school or grad school, they'll see they took that class twice, but they don't know what your grade was the first time around. So that's one option. The other option that some schools might do is they might average it. And so that would be if you got F the first time, a 0.0, and then you got a B the second time, a 3.0, they'll average that. And so it's like you have 3 credits of 1.5, which is like a D plus, C minus, kind of in that range. But it does still only count for 3 credits because it's one class. So again, a slight improvement, but not as much. And again, they may or may not take the old grade off your record. If they're averaging it, probably not. That way they have a record of your old grade and your new grade and why the average is what it is. They also might have different policies for retaking your class if you failed it or if you didn't. It could be that if you are trying to get into medical school and you really are trying to keep that 4.0, colleges don't want students taking the same class over and over and over again. And so if you got like a C in the class and you're trying for an A, they might say, well, we're going to average it. But if you get an F in the class, they'll say, we'll replace it. So look into your school's policies, talk to an academic advisor who knows, because it's their job to know. Hopefully they can answer your questions specifically about your college. But those are a couple options. All right, break time. What do you call a beehive without an exit? Unbelievable. If you like that joke or this video has helped you get things under control, feel a little better about where you're at in college, please like the video, subscribe to the channel so you can see all the future helpful videos. Now, there is another option, and that is getting a retroactive withdrawal or incomplete. And what this could be is, let's say something happened, and especially as a new freshman, you didn't know what your options were. Maybe you had a family member die. Maybe you yourself got really sick. Getting your mental health under control with all the challenges of college, that happens to a lot of people. So you can go talk to an advisor and say, what can I do to turn this F into a withdrawal? And for some schools, maybe you're going to need a doctor's note, or a psychologist's note, or whatever it might be, saying, yes, this happened, and it affected them this way. Maybe you have to get a sign off from the professor. Maybe the professor can look and say, wow, they were a B plus student, and then right here something happened, and they missed like the next 5 assignments at a midterm. And if there's something like that, you can talk to the professor and to the academic office and see if they're willing to turn it into a W, which a withdrawal, I guess for those of you that might not be familiar, basically means it doesn't affect your GPA. Future grad schools or medical schools will see that you took the class that semester, but they won't know how you were doing. A withdrawal can happen for a lot of reasons. Maybe you just sign up for too many classes and you can't handle it. If you sign up for 18 credits and then you withdraw from one, there's no shame in that because, class loads are hard. Or it could be that, you take it and you don't do very well after the first 3 or 4 weeks and say, I'm going to withdraw so I can start with a better fresh start next time. There's usually some kind of withdrawal deadline, which is why you can't just withdraw from the class right before the final. Usually, I believe it's maybe, usually about, I would say, a week or 2 into the semester is when you can leave the class and it's like you were never enrolled. And then maybe halfway through the semester, 6 or 8 weeks in, there's the withdrawal deadline. And so you can usually find that on the academic calendar for your school for when you can withdraw by. But because we're talking about people, you've already failed the class if you're watching this video, and then this is why you have to go through the academic office or through your professor, through a doctor, get a doctor's note. So just see what your school's policy is. I wish I could give you a specific answer, but unfortunately every school is different. But hopefully now you feel like you have options about knowing whether you should retake it, turn it into a withdrawal, and how this failed class is going to affect your future, whether it be class-wise or financial aid-wise. Again, I'm sorry that this happened, but it happens to a lot of people. Don't feel alone. If there are certain questions or things you're still struggling with, you can come and check out this playlist here, College 101. Hopefully we'll answer some of your questions about maybe how to study, how to get along with roommates, how to schedule your classes, or whatever else it might be that will help you be successful the next time around. Thanks for watching this episode of College 101 here on the College Guide. We'll see you next time.